Coming up in today's newscast, Prime Minister Netanyahu insists that he will not step down even if indicted ahead of elections. The fifth Hezbollah terror tunnel into northern Israel from Lebanon is destroyed, and the Israeli police help ensure a safe New Year's Eve for all Israeli women.
The 20th Knesset officially dispersed on Wednesday as the bill to dissolve it passed all three general plenum votes, officially kicking off the 2019 election campaign. And just in time to hit the campaign trail, former IDF Chief of Staff Benny Gantz has just announced today the formation of his new political party, Chosen Israel, or Israel's Resistance. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that he does not intend to resign from office, even if indicted by Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit before or after the election takes place. This according to a report published today in Israeli daily newspaper Israel Hayom.
According to the paper, Netanyahu told his inner circle ahead of yesterday's vote to dissolve the Knesset that he believed Mandelblit, quote, wouldn't dare to announce the charges against him before the election, but that even if indicted, Netanyahu said he would remain in office throughout the criminal trial. The report also quoted senior Likud sources as saying that if the Attorney General does make a decision to indict Netanyahu ahead of elections, he would become the target of a merciless attack by party officials. But following the report, the Likud party also released a statement denying the allegations, saying, quote, the claim that the Prime Minister said these things is false because Prime Minister Netanyahu has not spoken to anyone about this issue, end quote. The Likud statement added that nobody was threatening the Attorney General either, and that the pressure on Mandelblit to issue an indictment at any cost was coming on a daily basis from the left and the media.
Now, in the middle of Israel's political revolution, Prime Minister Netanyahu is now set to travel to Brazil today in a historic visit. The Prime Minister will fly to Rio to meet with the newly elected Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and attend his inauguration that is scheduled to take place on January 1st. And here with the details is ILTV's Latin American correspondent, Joy Gavijon. Joy, thank you so much for coming in today.
Of course, yeah.
All right, so, let's take it away. Tell me all about the departure
first
here.
I want to say that because of everything that's happened here in Israel, the early elections.
Sure.
At the beginning, we started to hear that Netanyahu had to cut his trip a little bit shorter from 5 days to 2 days. They said, reports said that he wasn't going to be able to attend to the inauguration. That was the main goal for this visit. But now the Israeli ambassador to Brazil confirmed to some sources in Brazil that he's actually going to attend the inauguration and the ceremony is going to take place on January 1st.
Okay, and so he's departing today then?
Yes, he's leaving today. He's going to go to Rio, to the coastal city, and there he's going to have a private meeting with Bolsonaro where we can assume that the main topic will be the embassy move.
And security and things like that. But okay, so this embassy move, this is something that Bolsonaro has been promising since the campaign trail.
Yes, exactly. That's something that he promised with also the confirmation or recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And he even said that he was going to close the Palestinian embassy in Brazil, but we don't know what's going to happen yet because there are also complaints from the Arab side, from the Arab nations.
Sure.
So.
Okay, so what about trade and agriculture and other economic aspects?
Well, we can expect some of that too because, in the past, Bolsonaro said that he considers Israel a model for agriculture, for trade, for innovation. And he even said that he's interested in the ways of that Israel has to use water because he has also some problems with water in some of the regions in Brazil.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's something that he could use and learn from Israel. He's also going to meet with some ministers, the newly elected ministers that come with Bolsonaro, the defense minister, the foreign affairs minister. So there's a lot to expect from this meeting.
It sounds like this is going to be very eventful, and especially coming right now during the campaign, it's kind of like a touchy, interesting time to take the trip. But all right, so we're going to be watching this closely. Joy, thank you for coming in.
Of course.
And stick around, yeah? All right, thank you so much. All right, now joining us with more via Skype on the Prime Minister's scheduled visits to Latin America and in particular Brazil is Julia Verdell, the General Manager of the Diplomatic Club and the publisher of the Diplomatic Club magazine. Julia, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you.
Okay, so, let's just get started. What can you maybe tell us about this upcoming trip to Brazil that we maybe don't already know?
I think, by my opinion, this visit is definitely a new era in several fields of relations between the countries. It's in political, economic, tourist, business, defense, in every area. The very important, really new era in the ties between Israel and Brazil. The most important things, by my opinion, is supporting each other. It's like, the two friends, two prime ministers going to support each other. For Brazil side, it's very important ties with Israel, United States, Japan, and Canada. So by this reason, it's like vector. Brazil, United States. So it's like close circle between all these countries. So it support each others. Of course, the Brazil is most important country in the South America and the biggest country, and the huge Israeli community. It's 250 million people, so it's a huge market for the Israeli business and high-tech. So I definitely can say that there's a new era in relations between two countries.
And you don't think that there's anything wrong with leaving in the middle right after this campaign has been initiated, right during the beginning of the campaign trail for the 2019 elections. You don't think that this would either hurt or help Netanyahu? How will this affect the Likud's campaign?
Okay, let's see the situation. This visit was planned before the changes in the Knesset. Okay, so we know it was planned. So it couldn't be cancelled at all. It just couldn't.
Not even. Well, I mean, they were saying maybe it would be made shorter. Was that not a possibility either?
No, it couldn't. I think it's very important time for Netanyahu. As I said, they support each other, because for Netanyahu it's very important, very highly important, to move the Brazilian embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. It's a very important point. It's very important supporting of Latin America. It's a very important support of the United States. So this is a very important step that Netanyahu do it right now.
So, but again, Bolsonaro, the new President Bolsonaro, has been embroiled often in controversy with certain statements that he made about women, about immigrants, about war. So how might that reflect trying to get closer with an individual like this again during a time where he's supposed to be campaigning for Israel?
Listen, you can ask the same question. How is important the relationship between Netanyahu and Trump? Trump is actually, let's say that Brazilian president-elect, he mostly same like Trump. It's very, the lot of media found that a lot of details and a lot of actings that like Trump. So you can ask me the same question about Netanyahu and Trump.
I see.
It doesn't matter for Israel. It doesn't matter for Israel. It's most important for Israel that the Jewish community in Brazil, the economic ties, political ties, defense ties. It's one of the things that can make President-elect Bolsonaro different, but nothing more.
All right, Julia Verdell, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Now, as reported earlier, the Knesset officially dispersed on Wednesday, but not before controversial Likud Knesset member Oren Chazan called Yesh Atid member Pnina Tamano-Shata, who is of Ethiopian descent, a token immigrant. Chazan has often gotten himself into trouble and has been suspended from the Knesset more than once in the past.
And in response to Chazan's latest outrageous comments, Tamano-Shata replied, quote, "I'm a proud black woman," end quote, adding that Chazan was a bastard who needs to be put in his place. She told Chazan that he debases Israeli society and that, quote, "If I am a token immigrant, then I call on all Ethiopian immigrants not to vote for the Likud," end quote. In the end, though, it was Tamano-Shata who was eventually removed from the committee meeting by Knesset ushers. But that didn't stop her from responding to Chazan, who has a history of making such disgusting statements. She wrote on Twitter that Chazan is an idiot of the lowest level who embarrasses the Knesset while, quote, "I am walking with my head held high," end quote. And again, this is not the first time that Chazan has caused controversy in the Knesset. In fact, he's repeatedly been disciplined by the Knesset Ethics Committee for his outbursts and inappropriate behavior. For example, in a notorious incident from November 2015, Khazan harassed a disabled member of Knesset when she was unable to lift her hand to push a button to vote. When Yesh Atid's Karine El-Harar, who has muscular dystrophy, asked for assistance from another parliamentarian, Khazan began shouting at them, causing El-Harar to burst into tears. He yelled at her again just a few days later as well. Then in 2017, he nearly got into a fistfight with a Jordanian lawmaker, which was only averted when Prime Minister Netanyahu demanded that he turn around. He's also been embroiled in drug and prostitution charges, among many other issues. But unfortunately, unless he resigns, is voted out of the Likud, or convicted of a serious crime, Khazan isn't going anywhere.
Turning now to the north, Israeli defense officials Wednesday acknowledged responsibility for the airstrikes on Damascus earlier this week, claiming to have primarily targeted storage and logistics facilities used by Iran and Hezbollah to trade weapons. Further, it was said that the Iranian and Iranian-backed targets were just 50 miles or around 80 kilometers from the northern Israeli border, far closer than what was described by Russia.
Regardless, Russia again chastised Israel for acting and supposedly endangering 2 civilian flights with the timing of their strikes. Israel did reportedly notify the Russian military of the operation in advance, however.
איננו מוכנים להשלים עם ההתבססות הצבאית האיראנית בסוריה שמכוונת נגדנו. אנו פועלים נגדה בתקיפות וברציפות, כולל בימים אלה. אמרתי שלא נראתה לעשות ככל שנידרש. ובכן, אנחנו נדרשים ואנחנו עושים. החלטת הנשיא טראמפ להוציא את החיילים האמריקנים מסוריה לא משנה את מדיניותנו. אנו עומדים איתן על הקווים האדומים שלנו, בסוריה ובכל מקום אחר.
The Israeli confirmation of strikes in Syria also comes at the heels of the exposure of the 5th Hezbollah attack tunnel dug from Lebanon into Israel. The IDF reported that they had found the tunnel a number of days ago and that the tunnel was already neutralized by an explosion. This after Prime Minister Netanyahu claimed Operation Northern Shield was nearing its completion. That being said, no expected end date to the operation has yet been announced.
Now, on a related note, as the IDF was busy defending the northern border, President Trump on Wednesday also commented during a surprise visit to Iraq that Israel would fare just fine in the region without the United States military presence in Syria. This thanks to the foreign funding received by the United States.
Touting the Jerusalem embassy move as proof, President Trump said America will always be there for Israel, but that at the same time, Israel is going to be good. We give Israel $4.5 billion and frankly a lot more every year, the president said, and they've been doing very well for themselves. The decision has still remained very unpopular, though, with Defense Secretary Jim Mattis even announcing his resignation over the move. Further, as per the decade-long defense agreement signed with the Obama administration, the United States currently budgets $3.8 billion per year towards Israel, not $4.5 billion or more, as the president stated.
The Prime Minister's comments yesterday on protecting the North also came during a very special graduation ceremony at the Hatzerim base for the newest group of Israeli pilots, the last class of 2018. And the new Air Force alumni stood proudly as both their current work and the tasks that lie ahead of them were honored by the various speakers.
Now, the Prime Minister also added that the new course graduates have but one mission: to defend the homeland and be victorious in war. And speaking of defending the homeland, Netanyahu said it, quote, starts with eradicating major hostile threats, end quote, like Iran. Finally, the Israeli premier went on to laud the IDF's ongoing efforts along the northern border, as well as all the new defensive and offensive capabilities being developed in the Jewish state, like those he recently saw at the Israel Aerospace Industries.
הם מפתחים יכולות מיוחדות שאין לאף מדינה אחרת במזרח התיכון, ואני אומר לכם שלחלקן אין לאף מדינה אחרת בעולם. זה כולל מערכות נשק, מערכות הגנה, טילים התקפיים שיכולים להגיע לכל מקום ולכל מטרה.
The graduates at yesterday's ceremony just finished a 3-year course held primarily at the Hatzerim base, where the ceremony was held. Only one of every 9 students who enters the course graduates, but those who do leave the course at the rank of lieutenant and with a bachelor's degree from Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. Then they begin their military service of 7 years.
It's now been a few weeks since international rental company Airbnb announced that it would be dropping its Israeli and settlement listings in the West Bank. But individual renters aren't the only ones under the gun of the BDS movement, which is why some Israeli organizations like Lev HaOlam are so important. Translated to the heart of the world, Lev HaOlam works tirelessly to support local businesses that have come under the threat of the international boycott movement. And joining me now with more is attorney Nati Rom, Israel advocate and founder of Lev HaOlam. Nati, thanks for coming back in today.
Shalom, thank you.
It's all right. So, tell me a little bit about how Airbnb and their new policy has kind of affected the West Bank and maybe some of the people that you're working with.
So we just heard that Airbnb is coming back from their statement, and hopefully they will retreat from the boycotting Israel. The real problem is not Airbnb. Airbnb, it's a commercial organization.
So it's a symptom, really, of a greater issue.
The big problem is that we have organizations that call themselves human rights organizations who are fighting against Israel daily and trying Israeli organizations, very radical left organizations like Pink Code, Kerem Navot, Human Rights Watch. Those organizations are nothing to do with human rights. They are anti-Semitic organizations. One of them, like Human Rights Watch, was also pro the massacre in Munich of the Sport League of Israel. They go to Iran and they deny the Holocaust and things like that. And we, citizens of Israel and citizens all over the world, we give them tax, we give them money to continue this work. And this needs to be stopped.
Okay, so what is Lev Ha'olam doing really to address this issue?
So Lev Ha'olam is a grassroots movement who is fighting the boycott, and we don't leave the international arena only to the people who are trying to hurt Israel. And we have partners all over the world. Thousands of people who love Israel, want to be active for Israel, and they are doing the same. They are putting the pressure on organizations like Airbnb and on those organizations who are trying to fight Israel to try to help us, to help Israel.
So, what about the BDS movement has been the biggest threat, and how should people be kind of fighting against that?
The biggest threat, it's the big lie. It's the lie that they are spreading, the demonization of Israel. People who love Israel sometimes ask me question, is that real? I mean, they are using a tactic of telling big lies to give, they gave a Nobel Prize, the EU gave a Nobel Prize to Yasser Arafat, an archi-terrorist. It's such a big lie. Those things are such a big lies, and they demonize us. In this week, in this month, that we have so many terror attacks. Radical Islamic people did terror attacks in Samaria day after day. Our soldiers, our brothers and sisters were killed. And yet, organizations are trying to fight us. So we need to spread the truth. We need to connect people all over the world to the truth. We need to share them with the real reality and to tell them very simple. You need to be, if you want to boycott radical Islam. Don't boycott Israelis who are trying to live in peaceful life in Israel.
All right, well, is there maybe a final message, quick sentence that you want to leave our viewers with?
Everybody listen. People who love Israel and support Israel, we are a big fight between darkness and light. Everywhere you are, go to Nati Rom or to Lev Ha'olam Facebook page and join us to fight these demonizations of Israel and those boycott and anti-Semitic organizations.
Nati, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Around 250 Jews from the Ukraine made Aliyah to Israel this week, marking the last wave of Aliyah for 2018. The flights were chartered by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, or the IFCJ, who have brought around 4,800 Olim to Israel this past year alone, almost a quarter of the overall number of people who moved to Israel in 2018.
In fact, the fellowship has brought new immigrants from 29 countries, including Morocco, Moldova, France, and Brazil. And some of the new immigrants who arrived this week include former European deputy mayors, professional athletes like two-time European billiards champion Ivanov Assad, and more. Rabbi Yechiel Eckstein, the founder and president of the fellowship, said that, quote, immigration to Israel is a blessing, end quote. And though this past year saw a slight decline in the number of immigrants to Israel, he said that he was both delighted and proud that his organization's role in immigration was, quote, constantly developing and growing, end quote. He added that this was due to its investment in every immigrant, from pre-Aliyah stages until the immigrant acclimates in Israel. The fellowship has been helping immigrants make Aliyah for over 20 years and has invested more than $200 million in bringing around some 750,000 Olim to Israel. And while it has traditionally partnered with the Jewish Agency and Nefesh B'Nefesh, in 2014 the IFCJ began operating independently and since then has brought 16,000 Olim to the Jewish state.
And now for this week's Top 5 with ILTV's incredible Emmanuel Kadosh.
Now, as 2018 comes to an end, Twitter has gathered up some data for us to really get to know the Israeli people. And with a few weeks still to go for something really amazing to happen, we've already had a pretty crazy year. So I'm here to give you guys ILTV's top 5 list of what was trending on Twitter in Israel in 2018. first up, most of you are already aware that Israel won the Eurovision, that Netta Barzilai is breaking barriers, and most importantly, the song I'm Not Your Toy should still be stuck in everyone's minds. So naturally, Netta Barzilai's tweet saying, quote, "Thank you, Europe," right after her win in Portugal back in May, was retweeted over 9,000 times. Not to mention that 50,000+ times the three-worded tweet was liked across the globe. Israel's Eurovision win was actually one of the biggest trending topics for Israel this year. Second up on the list is another biggest trending event in Israel and was tweeted by none other than the United States President Donald Trump. In his tweet, Trump says, quote, "Big day for Israel, congrats," referring to when the U.S. moved its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The tweet itself was liked more than 160,000 times and was most liked by Israelis in the past 12 months. Insane. Third on the list is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's most popular tweet so far of this year, which was actually not even in Hebrew or in English, it was in Hindi. A tweet from last month where Netanyahu was wishing Prime Minister Narendra Modi and all Indians a happy Diwali. This tweet got more than 70,000 likes, and that's pretty impressive. Fourth up is actually really shocking to me. The most popular account followed by Israelis is actually the Korean pop band BTS. And the most popular hashtag in Israel this year was actually also related to the love of Korean pop music. And that's really interesting to me considering I figured Gal Gadot would be number one. Last but never least, none of these tweets I just mentioned even compare to the top tweet from Twitter's most popular Israeli, our very own Wonder Woman, like I said, Gal Gadot, of course. And I'm referring to her post back in June teasing the next chapter of the Wonder Woman sequel with a picture and a caption that said, quote, "She's back, Wonder Woman 1984. This tweet got close to 400,000 likes on social media platform, and I know I've said this before, this is just the start. That's all for today's Top 5. Back to you.
Ahead of New Year's Eve 2019, the Israel Police, in collaboration with the Israel Anti-Drug Authority, has just announced that they would be handing out free drink kits to test for the presence of date rape drugs. They made the announcement in a viral video posted to social media earlier this week, which has already received over 150,000 views. And in the video, a police officer enters a nightclub and approaches the bar when all the revelers freeze. The officer then instructs viewers on how to use the test kit, explaining that all you need to do is take a few drops of your drink and put it on the small test circle of the pocket-sized test kit, and then wait a few seconds to receive the results of whether or not there are any drinks or drugs in your drink. The officer then adds, quote, "The result came out normal, then you can continue to celebrate with peace of mind," end quote. Well, a quick view on the video's comments section shows that Israelis were very surprised and pleased with the announcement, with many commenting praise for the police and their efforts. And if you're looking to pick up a kit, just stop at any local police station. And now for our Hebrew word of the day. In the wake of the news of Benny Gantz's new political party, Chosen Israel, today's word is chosen, or resilience. As Gantz is a former IDF chief of staff, it makes sense that his new party would be called Chosen Israel, or Israel's Resilience. We all know about how chasin, or resilient, the IDF is. But you don't have to be in the military to find chosen, or sturdiness and strength. Chosen can be found anywhere that one stands for what they believe in. I just hope that we can all gather our chosen, or strength, together to prepare for the very long political campaigns that lie ahead. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. This week is expected to be cool and rainy with occasional showers and a low tonight of 56 or 13 degrees Celsius. And then tomorrow and Saturday, the high will sit around 63 or 17 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.77 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Aaron Porras. Thank you for watching.